This podcast is intended for mature audiences and could be triggering to some. Please use discretion when listening. Hey everyone, welcome to Hearts with Jules, a podcast where survivors can share their story. I'd like to introduce you to our guest today. Her name is Heather. Heather is a survivor of narcissistic abuse. We've also been social media friends for a while now. I really want to thank you today, Heather, for taking the time to meet with me. And just for the listeners, could you tell us more about yourself?
Sure. I am a former teacher. I transitioned into workforce development and career coaching back in 2006. Started up my own little coaching business in 2010, but didn't take it full time until 2018. So I do all kinds of career coaching, resume, LinkedIn, interview prep and strategy, salary negotiation, and so on. But as I was going through opening up the business full time and taking on clients from all over the US and Canada, I started to realize that a great deal of them were traumatized. And when I prodded a little bit, a lot of them either are survivors themselves and or have become victims in the workplace because there are a lot of narcissists out there, and many of them gravitate into positions of authority or power, and a great deal of them will target their top performers in the workplace, and it's the same abuse cycle we would see in a family system or intimate partner. So a lot of what I do now is I got my life coaching certification as well, so I could help people recover from that type of trauma and or intimate partner family system trauma, and then also guide people into new careers with healthy company cultures.
Wow, that is a lot. That is a lot of experience under your belt there. That's great. So my question is, I really want to know, what you've been put through and the differences from, the beginning and when the mask fell off, based on your experience.
Well, I grew up with a sociopath father, or ASPD, and then a malignant, grandiose, narcissistic mother. So from childhood, I knew something was really wrong as a very little girl, maybe 4 years old. But I couldn't figure out what was happening and why, I didn't feel safe. I was also the oldest. I knew I wasn't supposed to be in charge of my brother and sister this way. My little brother was 10 years younger than me. Pretty much I was expected, honestly, to raise him. My parents were the type that had money but wouldn't buy us toothpaste and stuff like that. We were responsible for all of that on our own, which was difficult because, when you're 12 years old, you shouldn't be working so hard just to have your necessities. So it was a very, very traumatic upbringing. And I think it set me up to end up with people like that because, that's what you think love is. That's what you think home is. And I feel like that's why I got into unhealthy relationships, but in particular with the last one I was with, it's very abusive.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear about that, but I do thank you for sharing that with me.
Sure.
So for your relationship, how long was it? And when did you start noticing you were in an abusive relationship?
The person that I was with was diagnosed, again, a sociopath or antisocial personality disorder, which is worse than a malignant narcissist. The main difference with the sociopaths and your run-of-the-mill narcissist is sociopaths plan. They plan to create situations where they're hurting you. They'll poison your food with stuff you're allergic to. Mm-hmm. They will take your keys and hide them. It's a whole different thing. Just because of the lengths that they'll go to. So I started, looking back, I probably did see flags when I was dating him, but just didn't realize it. I'm the kind of person that's always well, we all have something that we're working on, and just too positive about people, too trusting. But when did I really realize that things were not going to be okay? Probably right after I married him, because he got significantly worse immediately once he kind of had me locked down. But then he was I know I need therapy, et cetera, et cetera. And then that made me think, well, okay, if he's going to take therapy seriously, then maybe, this will be okay, because we had just blended our families. Both of us had a daughter the same age, and then he had a son, and they were good friends at the time. And, you just don't want to be going through something like this again and going through another divorce. And so, he was acting like he was serious about therapy, but come to find out, he was doing what most narcissists do, where he was telling our therapist stuff that was absolutely not true, like taking a tiny little bit of the truth and then spinning it all around to make it seem like, I'm the problem. And the therapist started to catch on to this because I had a degree in psychology and education. And so I would be very much like, what is it that I need to do? Where do you see areas I can improve? And he was all like, apparently just trying to blame me for everything. And we also would do couple sessions. And so after just a few months, she was like, I need to separate the two of you out of therapy. I am getting conflicting stories, and that's not good. And so she put him into therapy every week, and then me just once a month, which enraged him, of course, right? And I started to see, well, that was the second therapist. Eventually, I think ultimately he had 5 therapists, because he would just, every time one of them, she diagnosed him, but then he lied about that. And then went on to see like 2 or 3 more therapists by the time I left him, trying to get somebody else to say something different than she did about his diagnosis.
Right.
And every single time, 2-3 months would go by, this therapist doesn't know what they're doing, they're crazy. And then he would go and get another one. So I'm like, well, at least you can say you had therapy. I mean, but I think that I did try, how they say victims will try to leave 7 times, or by the 7th time usually is the average. When I look back, I think that I wanted to leave in 2011, 2012, 2015. I was going to leave in 2017, ended up injuring at the very end of 2017, ended up having 2 major knee issues where I had to have 2 surgeries. It took almost 10 months for me to recover from that. And then I was going to leave him in 2018, but that's when you found out that my office was closing, and that's when I took my business full time. It just felt like every time something happened that was preventing me from leaving. But I got a different therapist, and I wanted her exclusively to work with me on an exit strategy. So for 18 months, from the time I opened my business all the way through, our goal was December of 2019 for me to be out, and I made it almost. Just 2 weeks later, my house that I'm in now, the woman I bought it from, she was a lawyer, and she had to be in court, so couldn't quite get in until the middle of January of 2020. But and that's what I did. I broke the trauma bond inside the marriage. I could see him for who he was. At that point, I'd been researching narcissistic abuse on YouTube and reading all kinds of books and all that stuff for probably 3 or 4 years. So I was ready. I was beyond ready. And I was ecstatic when I got out and away from him. So I kind of did the work on the inside. Other people have to do the work after the relationship is over. One way or another, you're going to do the work, right?
Right. So I know a lot of people would want to know. So this question is like, what made you stay?
Well, I think one thing was I had already divorced my daughter's dad when she was 4. And, I didn't want to have chosen wrong again, and I didn't want to put her through another divorce, but I would have, except for the fact that she and his daughter, my former stepdaughter, were really good friends and went to the same school. And I think that was probably the biggest part, because I didn't want to cause a situation for her, with her quote unquote best friend and all that stuff. And I didn't want to tear them apart from each other. Looking back and having had some really frank and open conversations with my daughter, who's going to be 24 soon, she would have been fine with it. Right. If I would have left earlier on, way earlier, beginning of high school. But, at the time, I think that's what it was, because I really didn't like him.
Right.
I did not like this person that I was with. I could see that he was really screwed up, but I just was like, well, I guess if we keep going to therapy, or maybe this could eventually work out, or maybe, he has the potential to change. All those things victims tell themselves. I was doing the same thing. Yeah. But as a person, I didn't like him. He did not line up with me in any way, not with ethics, values, not with being career-minded, financially responsible. He got us into so much debt, so much debt, still almost out of it, but still have about another year to clear that up. Just a terrible person in general. So yeah, but I think it was just the thought of being wrong again, putting my daughter through another divorce, that whole thing, I think, is what kept me in now, in that long.
Right. Wow. You've been through so much. How has this experience impacted you?
Well, I think it's interesting because, like, I do not believe that your abuse made you who you are, like the abuse you endured made you who you are, any of that stuff. I hate all of that. But I think that my ability to, like you do, like a lot of our friends and colleagues do out there, to take that situation and to take all those things, all that trauma from my childhood, and to do the inner child work, and to, you know what I mean, like do all of those things, and then say, you know what, I'm not going to let this experience end here. I am going to take this experience and help other people.
Right.
That's what I think, ultimately that's where I've come to, at this point. Like, I'm not really even bitter or anything. When I look back on it, I just see it. I'm not triggered by anything. I just see it for what it was and think about how can I use these situations and things that I was put through to create content or to do podcasts like this to help other people and to coach other people, that they don't have to stay in that life, that there's so much more to life. And there are actually wonderful people out there. If we can start healing and looking outside of where we've been to see, like it did, like our group on WhatsApp, like I didn't think I would have 14 other besties, at this time last year. But it's like now we have all these amazing people that we can lean on and be friends with and collaborate with, right?
Yes, that's correct. And that has helped me so much, actually. And TikTok was my way of healing.
Yeah,
it was my outlet.
TikTok started out for you to be healing for you, and then look at, what do you have, 450,000 people that follow you to heal them for themselves. Like you're doing that for all those people.
Right. No, not 450. I think I'm almost at 304, 305.
Only 305,000 people. But like, did you ever think that it would turn into what it has?
Like, I didn't even think about that this would even happen. I just wanted to kind of express myself because I didn't get that chance when I was going through all of that. I was always told to talk to the wall or the cat.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really, have anybody to confide in. I did mention it to my two best friends, like 3 years into the abuse. But I didn't really get into much detail. I didn't want, people involved. I kind of got out myself. And I was kind of embarrassed too, so I didn't want to keep bringing them in.
That makes sense. I think, and that's one of the things that these abusers do. They try to convince you, like, we can fix all of our problems together. I know the one I was with would say, like, my ex always used to tell people this stuff about me, and we never communicated, and I want us to communicate. And, they come up with these weird things where we don't feel like it's okay to talk to anybody, right?
Right.
Like we're doing something wrong.
Exactly. Yes. And that's how I was made to feel. And I remember my abuser always said, like, if you want to talk about it, why can't you just talk to me? Like, stop going to other people. Like, you can't handle your own business, stuff like that. And I'm just like, but I can't even talk to you. That's
exactly. There is no talking to them. There's no communication with an narcissist. Zero. They create that situation purposefully.
Mm-hmm. I find myself ending up being the one apologizing for something that they did to hurt me.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
It's crazy. Mind blowing.
Like, when you look back on it now, how do you feel about it?
When I look back at it now, I don't even know how I even stayed for that long. Like, it was 4.5 years, and I literally had to move across Canada just to get out of it.
You know what I used to think, and I've done videos on this, but I had this in my head that if I could just show him how to be, if I could just show him how to be kind, if I could, like his birthday was 2 months before mine. If I could do a really great birthday, get the kids together, get his parents over, blah, blah, have a celebration with a thoughtful gift, then he would learn. I mean, I'm talking about a middle-aged guy, right? But that he would learn how to treat people on their birthday. Like, you know what I mean? And like, you get to this point where you're role modeling for these people. They don't care. They're going to take anyway, and they're exactly. Going to still ruin your birthday and ruin your holidays. They're not looking for modeling. But like, I was in this space of, if I can just show him, because he was traumatized as a child. Well, so was I. Right. And I don't treat people that way. You know what I mean? And it's just interesting, like, looking back on that, like, how much energy would be expended, how much time and energy we spend trying to make a relationship work with someone who is dedicated to making sure that it doesn't,
Right.
you know?
And yeah, they have this mindset of like, you're never going to leave because you've already put up with it this long. So I can do whatever I want. I don't need to change.
Right. I don't know if the one you were with did this, but the one I was with was always pushing this unconditional love narrative. And I actually have a video I want to put out on this topic, but like, well, if we love each other unconditionally. And I'm like, well, I come from this family of terrible people, right? Like these terrible parents who never said I love you or anything.
Right.
And so I'm like, oh, well, that's what we should all want in a partner, someone who's always going to love us and be there for us and support us, right?
Right.
Well, the reality is you should unconditionally love your children,
Right.
but that's the only way unconditional love should go. So they, at least the one I was with, got me into this thought process of, well, we unconditionally love each other, which basically means he can lie, he can cheat, he can rage, he can scream, he can try to ruin my new business, he can do all these things. But if we love each other unconditionally, then somehow I just have to stay with him until he can be better next time. And let's wipe the slate clean. And then, we'll start fresh and all this stuff because we love each other unconditionally. Right. And I believe now love between two partners is conditional. It should be, it should be based on how you're treating each other, Exactly. But he had me in this thing of thinking that, well, if we promise to love each other unconditionally, then we have to stay together.
Yeah, well, it's not unconditional tolerance, so.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm. They want to pick and choose certain things, but, they act one way. They just keep expecting certain things from us. And it's just, no, sorry, not doing that. You sacrificed your life.
And then they act so stunned to the world at large. I never saw it coming.
I think the thing is like, they're so used to us putting up with it for so many years that it's become normal to them. That when you stand up for yourself, it's such a huge problem. Like, why would you treat me that way? How come you're not loving me the same way? Why are you being so rude? Why are you arguing and attacking me? It's like, I'm standing up for myself.
Yeah. Me not allowing you to attack me anymore is not an attack on you. Right.
Calling you out is not attacking you either.
If you weren't behaving in a way that was extremely abusive, I wouldn't have to be saying anything.
Thank you. Yes. Mind blowing. Okay, but so like what other services or resources or people that helped you like in your recovery or help you get out?
Oh my goodness. There is a really wonderful therapist on YouTube. Her name is Chris. It's Kris, and her last name is Godinez, Godinez. And I believe her channel is called We Need to Talk. She was phenomenal. I watched her a lot. I also used to watch Lisa Romano, creators like that on YouTube. I was just like searching narcissists, just doing searches, found some really great creators that I really loved. And I watched them for a few years, because like I said, I actually would have left him like 3 years before I did, were it not for the knee injuries and then my office closing down. So like I was in deep. Angie Atkinson, who's a friend of mine, we became friends because I found her on YouTube. Actually, I'm doing a podcast series with her as well.
Oh, sweet.
She's got quite a big YouTube following. She's also on TikTok. And then what I had said to Angie is, I'm almost out of this relationship. I want to do what you do for other people. Is it okay if I ask you to be my friend? Right. On Facebook a few years ago. And so we've been friends ever since. And then I was getting ready to get on YouTube, and my daughter was saying, you should really do TikTok, Mom. You'd be great at TikTok. And I'm like, okay, like, how does it work? Like, like when I first started, how like you can move a comment around and stuff like that. I was like ducking under the comments. And my daughter's like, that move, right? But so I just ended up getting started on TikTok as opposed to YouTube, and then found all of you, and kind of wanted to do what the others that I had been watching, for other people. Right. But those creators were really helpful. Definitely. And then of course, like Bundy Langcroft, like his books are fantastic. Why does he do that? The verbally abusive man, those types of books. I did a ton of reading on like narcissistic parents and emotionally immature parents and all of that kind of stuff. So, because I was like, if I'm going to heal, I'm going to try to heal from all of it, like childhood on, because I want to make a change. Now I do have, and I think you do too, but I do have Love You More by Carrie McAvoy, who's a friend of ours. I haven't started reading it yet. I'm excited. And I have Lisa Sani's Trauma Bond Recovery Journal and Self-Love Reflection Journal. And then I bought Trey's The Wellness Wheel Journal.
Right.
And I think I keep those resources around because they're current and they're written by people that we know and trust and that we know are survivors themselves and have gone through all of this. And I like to share those with my clients. That's
amazing. Right. And how's your life now with your healing journey?
My life is, I feel like it's amazing now. I love my house. I was actually fortunate to be able to position myself to buy it from my girlfriend who was leasing it to me. I just had the whole house painted, super exciting. We just got all new furniture for upstairs. And, because I really believe like your environment has a huge impact. And because when I was with the sociopath, the environment was just, he was tearing our house up purposefully, dirty, all of that. So I really wanted to make this a haven. And so I've been pretty excited that over the past 6 months, I've been able to really kind of sink some funds into it. And my daughter just got a promotion. She just got promoted to communications specialist for my city. And so she's set up. She's only 23, turning 24. So she's like, it's going to be wonderful, wonderful salary for her and everything. I don't know. I love my clients. I love all of them, no matter what we're working on. They're really great people. And they're seeing success, whether it's exit strategy or, trauma recovery or getting new jobs and higher pay and healthy cultures. And, there's just a lot of wonderful things. All of you, the community that we've created, TikTok, and being able to help other people and have them tell me their stories and watch them blossom and become content creators themselves, like all of that stuff. Like I didn't know a year and a half ago that this is where everything would be. Right. And then on a more personal note than that, I met my now fiance just over a year and a half ago. And we are just moving in together right now. So that's exciting for us. And he's a wonderful, wonderful, sweet, supportive, and super intelligent, really talented guy. My dog, we call him my dog's bestie. He was, my dog was traumatized, obviously, too. He's going to be 11. And he just loves Greg, and he's just always by his side. And and we've been doing a lot of cooking together and, that type of stuff. And even though, I have long COVID, so I am very careful about going anywhere because I just cannot take a chance of getting it again. We've been able to manage to have quite a fun year and a half together, even in the middle of this pandemic and all of that. So, I mean, I was 49 when we friended each other on Facebook and turned 50, and he turned 44 when we went on our first date. Anybody who's listening, it's never too late. Right. You are not too old. It's not too late. You can have this vibrant, wonderful life no matter how many years you've been with an abuser. Right. There is so much on the other side.
I'm so happy for you. Like it's like a black cloud just left.
Yeah, so it really feels that way. Yeah, I go to sleep happy. I wake up happy.
That's so healthy compared to before. Oh my God.
I know. Life really can be amazing, and it doesn't mean that it's easy. And I don't mean to be flippant about the finances. Like the sociopath I was with got us into $100,000 of debt.
What?
Yes, on nothing, on hobbies and musical instruments and stuff and whatever. Fast food. He was putting on credit cards that had 26% interest rates on it, and who knows what else he was doing. Mm-hmm. But I was just fortunate enough that while I was at the end of that terrible relationship, my business was picking up. So when I left, I was in a really great position. I got my credit score up. I cut myself off of anything that was his and vice versa. He didn't even know because he never even looked at the finances because he was spending like crazy, and I was supposed to manage it all. But inside the relationship, I had gotten my own bank account. I had my own business account. So I was starting to position myself in a way that when I left, I literally took my dog, my personal items like bathroom and clothes, and then I took three pieces of art that friends of mine had created that I bought from them. And I left everything else. So for 6 weeks, my daughter and I were getting this house over here set up, so that when I left, my friends came by, scooped me up. They all brought like laundry baskets and stuff and boxes and just scooted me over here. And we moved in 90 minutes while he was at work.
Wow.
And everything here is all my stuff, my energy. I mean, Greg and I have been decorating together some parts of the house now, but I didn't want any of it. So starting from napkins to spoons to, towels, anything you can think of that you need in a house, I had to start completely from scratch.
Wow, I can't even imagine what you've been through. That's crazy.
It was, but what was wild about it, I think the craziest thing, and I know people talk about this, is feeling like you are a liar now. Like you're a manipulator, you're a liar. You are, you're basically taking everything the narcissist or sociopath taught you and you're implementing it when you're in your exit strategy, right? So like I would tell him I was teaching classes when I was at IKEA buying furniture with my, daughter. I would tell him that I had a meeting with the city or something, and I was over here, getting dishes set up and the cabinets, and it was just, and I was having to be like super careful about making sure that everywhere I ordered from was sending things to the new address and not the current one. Because he at that point was like doing things like leaving hunting knives all around the house and stuff. And I had a feeling that he was escalating because I had been gray rock for so long and he just couldn't get me to react to him. And I knew that he would be violent. So he had told me that he would kill me if I ever tried to leave him. So
that's scary.
I remember one time one of the carpets did get sent to the home address, and I got the notification that it was on the way, and I was freaking out because he was supposed to be coming home from work, and I was working from home, but I was able to get the cart. It's just like a carpet from my office. I was able to grab it and then run it over here, which is just a few minutes away from my old house, and then, get back. But it was like that kind of stuff, like, oh my God, I'm scheming, I'm manipulating, I am straight up looking him right in the eye and lying. And then I was like, and I have to, because this is self-defense.
Right.
If this was a normal person, we could just be like, look, this just isn't working out. I loved you and you loved me, but it's time to move on. And you wouldn't have to do that. But I knew that he said, I'll kill you if you leave me. Yeah. Now, would he have killed me? I don't know. Would he have hurt me? I'm sure he would have, because he had done other things in the past. So that was what was kind of strange about the whole thing, because I'm working full time, running my business. I am teaching classes. And I was also like planning this whole home, like I was planning not just like moving in, but buying everything for it. And trying to manage all of that and look like nothing was going on.
Yeah, that's totally wild. So you also mentioned earlier that you also help people from toxic workplaces, right? Could you tell us more about that?
Sure. So in a toxic and abusive workplace, you typically are going to have a boss with a cluster B disorder, NPD, malignant kind of borderline personality, histrionic, but usually narcissistic or, malignant narcissist. Right. And what generally happens is people are living in a culture of fear. They never know when the quote unquote boss is going to, all of a sudden have a temper tantrum. They don't know if they're going to be, like all the things. They don't know if they're going to be stonewalled. They don't know if they are, going to be love bombed. And then the next day it's going to start with detention again. Like it's the same cycles that everybody goes through in a narcissistic family system or, intimate partner. It's the same thing. What makes it harder though is that your income and maybe your insurance, right? At least in America, we have a long ways to go, is attached to your job. And so a lot of people are so afraid to make a move because they're afraid that they're going to lose, right? They're also afraid that they're going to get into another situation that's just as bad or worse. So a lot of times it becomes like, well, it's the hell I know, but at least I know it. And there's also this thing of, I see this every single year. People will reach out to me in November, like, I have to get out of my workplace. It's so toxic. I'm so tired. I have no self-confidence. My self-esteem is shot. I can't take another day of this. And I'll be like, okay. And I know for sure I'm not going to hear from them until January, because what happens is the holiday party happens. So all of a sudden it's like, well, it's not so bad. And I got a bonus and we had a really fun holiday party. You know, maybe things are turning. It seems like we're starting fresh, right? Like the boss has wiped the slate clean. We're going to start over. Inevitably, about the third week of January, these people come back. They're like, I need to sign up with you right now.
Right.
Because that's how the cycle goes. And what's really sad about it, like I work with a lot of people that are upper level management, leadership, VPs, CEOs, stuff like that. So even they, like, people don't realize that people at that high level also are traumatized.
Right.
Also have no self-confidence, also don't think that anybody else will, quote unquote, ever want them, right? Because they say the same thing. You'll never find a job like this. You'll never find another place that would put up with you. Like, people hear the same kind of stuff in the workplace. And so, you know, I have these very successful on paper people who literally are so traumatized that filling out, like even applying for a job, some of them, I sat with the CEO once and just sat there with him so he could fill out an application because he was so nervous. And, you know, I'm like, this guy makes $180,000 a year or whatever he's making, and he can't even fill out an application without somebody being there with him because he didn't feel confident enough. So there's a lot of trauma, a lot of traumatized people. What makes them more confusing is that most of them are top performers. So narcissists like to target, you know, they usually have wonderful partners and they try to tear their wonderful partners down and make them feel less than. That's exactly what happens in these workplace environments. So the boss is trying to tear down their top performer. And what they know about the top performer is that they will try harder to make things better, to bring things back to the way that they were, just like we do in relationships. Right. And so they will put them through the whole thing. They'll be, you know, tearing them down or whatever. And then all of a sudden at a meeting, they'll give them a little bit of a props, or they'll stop by with a cup of coffee, little love bomb tokens that make them think it's going to be okay again, but then it gets worse and worse. And that's how it works, right? It never gets better. It always gets worse. And the cycle always tightens, and it happens faster and faster. And so, yeah, I have a lot of people who start out coming to me traumatized, don't even know what their talents are, can't even remember their accomplishments. But by the time that we're done working together, their confidence is back up. They've gotten angry, which you get when you've been treated that way. They've, resolved a lot of the issues inside themselves. They know what to look for. I try to encourage them to also get therapy if they can. And then we move them into really wonderful new jobs and new, healthy company cultures, and teach them how to look for the green flags and really know what they want and what they will accept and what they won't. And that is so rewarding, to get people through all that and then it's a new life, right, for them. So that's, in a nutshell, that's kind of what that looks like. There's a lot of inner child work done, a lot of mirror talk, inner critic, inner voice work that gets done along with, the technical stuff of like LinkedIn or a resume. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting.
It is very interesting. We might need another episode on workplace abuse, actually.
I would be happy to. I think that would be wonderful.
Perfect. And just to wrap it up, though, do you have any social media that you'd like to share with the listeners, or any links to how to contact you?
Well, if anyone's interested in setting up a career coaching or life coaching discovery call, or checking out any of my packages, my website is careersavvycoaching.com. And you can find me. I'm Heather Coleman Voss on every platform. So TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Heather Coleman Voss. And yeah, I'm always looking to expand my network and that type of thing, so people can feel free to come by and get connected.
Wonderful. And I'll also add that in the description as well. So one last question for the other victims out there right now who may be listening to your episode. What do you think is important for them to know?
I think it's really important for people to know that people who have integrity and are authentic and are genuinely loving, caring people never try to tear down their intimate partner or family. Right. They don't deliberately try to destroy someone else's life. They don't try to bring you down to their level. You don't deserve that. You've never deserved that. You deserve love, respect, support, and dignity and tranquility. And if you don't have that with the person you're with, then it might be time to put that exit strategy together and move toward the life that you truly deserve, because you deserve it. Don't listen to people whose only goal is to tear you down so that they feel better about themselves. So like, start loving on yourself, start saying positive things about yourself. You know, when you have a negative thought, counteract that with a positive thought. So that inner critic comes up, that inner voice needs to combat it. So you hear your inner critic saying you're worthless, you turn that right around. You're valuable and I love you. Those small things can have a huge impact on moving forward.
100%. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you so much, Heather, for sharing your part of the story today. It was very nice speaking with you. And I guess we'll see you next time for episode 2 on workplace abuse.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed this.
Thank you. Same here. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.